So you were sitting in the lobby of the DMV the other day, and you come across a post on Twitter from VGC. Apparently the man-child director of Days Gone realized another month had gone by in which nobody remembered him, so he decided to try and spice things up a bit. To quote Yahtzee Crowshot, this guy has the energy of a hyperactive kid going, "Hey, watch this," and then cracking himself in the head with a rock. Kind of like the Biden administration. What? Who said that? A couple days ago, the guy just decided to start blaming Days Gone's poor reception on woke reviewers, which is a new one. In case you forgot about Days Gone, which I sure did, it was a boring-ass zombie sandbox with a boring story, boring characters, and gameplay that was sometimes not boring. It also had a decent amount of technical problems when it launched on the PS4 back in 2019, and it sold pretty well, I think about 9 million copies or so, but Sony reportedly shut down prospects for a sequel, likely due to the lack of interest in the universe and the story. When you lay it all out like that, it's a totally uncontroversial story. But if you look at some of the things the director has said in the past, you would have thought this was some like grand conspiracy to keep zombies down or something. He's blamed his team, he tried to write off Ghost of Tsushima's coattails, he blamed the consumers a couple times. Fun fact, if you make a game that people don't want to buy, attacking them for not buying it is a really weird choice, and now he's blaming woke reviewers. Because when you're struggling for relevance, just shove yourself into the culture war, that always works. Dude, look, you can't shit in someone's Chipotle bowl and then blame Chipotle when the person doesn't want to eat it. It doesn't matter how you spin this, you still took a shit in someone's Chipotle bowl. And like, yeah, sure, technical issues and whatnot can be blamed on other people within the team. But creative issues and conceptual issues, those all fall on you. There's a reason why even after the patches, this game never really caught on. And the replies to this tweet have been fucking golden. Did I make a mediocre, forgettable game? No, it's the woke reviewers who were wrong. Or maybe because the game wasn't that good. It's an amazing game, one of the best PS4 era game easily next to Bloodborne. And much better than The Last of Us. With the classic "I paused my game to be here" profile picture, so you're either 8 or like 41. Look, far be it from me to defend Sony games, but to call this one of the best ones, I think we're being a little dramatic. I'm not saying you can't enjoy Days Gone. I know there's actually been a decent amount of people playing it on PC recently. I'm not saying it's a bad, completely unenjoyable game, but like, to hoist it up on this giant pedestal, to say that it deserved better than this, or to act like this is some grave disservice to what the game is. That's really what the problem is here. It's not that you made a game that wasn't 10 out of 10. It's not that you didn't make the greatest, most wonderful, mind-blowing game ever made, because there's nothing wrong, per se, with making a generic zombie shooter. But that's just the thing. You made a generic zombie shooter. Why are you acting like you're owed something more than what a generic zombie shooter would usually get? It was hampered by having to run on a base PS4, it ran like dog shit. That and some pacing issues, but it's a solid 80 to 85 game. If it was hampered by having to run on the PS4, maybe they shouldn't have released it on the PS4. That's also excusing the fact that there are many other PS4 open world games that ran better than Days Gone. But is this really how low standards are now? You say it ran like dog shit and there were pacing issues, but it's an 80 to 85 game? Is that you being a Sony fanboy, or is that you being another example of how the traditional 1 to 100 grading scale means fucking nothing anymore? On a grading scale, there's no universe where Days Gone deserves more than like a 75. Let's be real. It is a generic open world zombie shooter with some good things and some really bad things. Graphics, good. Shooting, good. Enemy AI, good. Story and dialogue.
Here, you can have this one back. But only if you promise to ride me as much as you ride your bike.
When you round it all up, this game deserved like a mid-70, at best. Metacritic got this one right. Every time I get tempted to buy this, the director makes sure I don't. I'm honestly the same way. I've come so close to buying this game on Steam a handful of times when it's been on sale, but then I just remember headlines that this guy's been in, and I can't bring myself to do it. I mean, it's basically just a Ubisoft game with the zombie apocalypse skin on it. And Ubisoft games don't get close to the same level of criticism and rank much favorably, kind of proving his point. Interesting. Well, here's Far Cry New Dawn, and here's Watch Dogs Legion, and here's Far Cry 6. Stop it. Vigra responds, "What are you even talking about? There's a reason why calling something a Ubisoft sandbox game has become an insult for a generic open world game. They're experts at it. Yet the only Ubisoft games sticking to the classic formula are the ones reviewing in the high 80s. Like fucking what? The only open world Ubisoft games to come out recently and actually get like above normal Ubisoft scores have been the recent Assassin's Creed games, which are open world RPGs and not really traditional Ubisoft sandboxes. So no? Maybe? No? You and I both know Days Gone wasn't ranked that low for being generic. Game was in an unplayable state on release. I never said it was a great game. I'm just pointing out the hypocrisy of reviewers. I never said it was a great game. I just wanted to criticize the critics that didn't give it the review I wanted it to get. That makes sense. That makes sense. Carry on. Clearly, no games with gruff white protagonists have ever gotten good reviews. That's what's great about this. Like, I know the whole meme now is like, if you have a white dude as your lead, then like, grr, all the wokies are gonna come after you. But like, it's just not something that's affecting review scores en masse. Can we at least agree on that? So like, when games like Days Gone come out and get criticized for having a dog shit story because, you know,
Ride me as much as you ride your bike.
Do you have another one of these?
to say that it's because you have a gruff white dude as your lead, can we at least all agree that that's fucking stupid? The game had inspiring dialogue like,
Ride me as much as you ride.
Hey, stop!
aren't you proving his point, lol? No? The director of this game has repeatedly attempted to redirect all criticism of the creative and design choices in Days Gone to people who were not responsible for them. He has also gone out of his way to actually get upset with people for liking Ghost of Tsushima more than Days Gone. He has gone out of his way to shame people who did not want to pay full price for a buggy game. The fact that you are coming to his aid when someone criticizes the dog shit dialogue, this is the problem. Stop doing this. No one is saying it's illegal to like it, but we have to all be on the same page about the fact that certain parts of it were not good. He's not wrong though. IGN and GameSpot were reviewed by woke journalists. Both gave it a low score due to it being too white. GameSpot reviewed it and played the game. Look, two things can be true at the same time. On one hand, this game could have been reviewed at some major outlets by people who are of a more woke ideology, and they could have said some weird things about the game because of that influence. That can absolutely be true. But that does not cross out the fact that outside of the woke journalists doing potentially woke reviews, the game also got mediocre reviews from almost everyone else. Both of these things can be true at once, and that points to there being a larger issue with the game. This logic just doesn't work. Think about it. Games that are critically acclaimed, wow, it gets Metacritic 94, Metacritic 92. But then if you scroll through the actual reviews, there's always at least a couple major outlets that gave it like a 70 or like a 60 or whatever. Here, I'll put my money where my mouth is. Doom Eternal, 88 Metascore. That's pretty great. That's really, really good. People giving it 90s, people giving it mid-90s. There was even a couple 100%ers in here. And yet, quarter to 3, 60%. What about the time that Doom 2016, one of the best shooters in recent memory, got a 7.1 from IGN. A 7.1. And yet that didn't really hurt the game's reputation very much, because they were outliers. And that is the problem with the whole woke journalist argument for Days Gone's reception. It just was not widespread. I'm not denying that there were some woke journalists who reviewed the game and said dumb things about it. I've seen the articles. I know they exist. I'm not denying that. But to use that as an excuse for the things that almost every critic was saying across the board, no. TBH, I'd be pissed too if they pulled me out to finally make my own game IP. I knock it out of the park for the first time and then don't get a sequel simply because it didn't generate enough hype. Why do you say that like it's a weird thing? Like, it doesn't get a sequel because it didn't generate enough hype. Like, yeah, that's how that works. Maybe if he actually did knock it out of the park, it would have generated more hype. That's the funny part. This game had a ton of hype, Everyone knew it was coming out. It still sold like 9 million units just by being a first-party Sony game, and yet it still faded into obscurity. Like, really think about that. This game sold 9 million units, was one of the best-selling games of the year, and hardly anyone even fucking remembers it. This wasn't a matter of people just not trying it, you know? It wasn't a matter of the game just not getting into people's hands. It was a matter of the game not holding people's attention, which is much, much worse. And that's the thing that the director does not want to take any accountability for. Look, I'm not saying you can't enjoy bad games. There's a decent chance that the footage I'm using in this video is from a game that some might consider to be complete ass. But oh my god, if you're going to be a creative, you have to have some semblance of when the art just wasn't very enjoyable for people. You can't let stuff like this get to you so much. And I know it's probably a really bad feeling when you put your heart and soul into something for years and years, and then millions of people tell you they don't like it. Or maybe you genuinely had a really great vision for this game, but some constraints or another forced you to change course or cut corners. But you have to have some respect for the audience, and you have to have some kind of understanding of what people like. Not to compare myself to an actually successful person, but ever since I was like 15, I've been playing in punk and metal bands, two genres that a giant percentage of people just can't stand. And even if you're in the chunk of people who do like it, people have specific tastes. I'm very familiar with being told that the thing I made sucks, or they're like, oh, it just wasn't for me. And you know what you do in that situation? You say, okay, did that person have any valid points? Are there areas that I can be improving upon? Would I benefit from taking this person's criticisms to heart and adjusting my future creations? What you don't do is yell at the audience for not wanting to partake in your creation, especially when your creation was literally broken when you released it for full price. Again, you can't take a shit in someone's Chipotle bowl and then blame Chipotle when the person doesn't want to eat it. Toodles.